Hey guys, it's Dan here with a new video. I wanted to talk about basically what's been going on recently with Sylvester Stallone and Irwin Winkler. I don't know if everyone here follows what Stallone is doing, so I kind of wanted, this is something that I've been wanting to talk about. And I put some notes down. So if I look down, I'm kind of old school when it comes to things, and I have quotes and other things. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. But I want to start back from the beginning for me, and that is when I was young. Whenever I would see a Rocky poster or a Rocky trailer, or some kind of TV spot or anything like that, be it on a DVD or when I was little and saw a poster, you always saw, and it was always one of the first things on the poster, was a Robert Chardoff Irwin Winkler production, and that always stood out to me because it was the first thing mentioned, and I was always like, oh, Robert Chardoff and Irwin Winkler, they're big into they have to do with the Rocky movies, they're always involved. But I didn't ever really know what a producer did specifically. So I looked up the definition. I just for everyone to know, a film producer. What a film producer basically does is they oversee a film's production. They plan and coordinate various aspects of a film, such as selecting a script, coordinating writing, directing, editing, and arranges finances. Now, the arranges finances thing is the one thing I did know that a producer does. Basically, really, a producer does a lot, based on all of that information. So that's what Robert Chardoff and Irwin Winkler did for the Rocky movies. So let's jump ahead a little bit to Rocky Balboa, which came out in 2006. Now, I remember, Sly has said many times that he is most proud of Rocky Balboa over all the Rocky movies, including Rocky 1. And it is because it was such a struggle to have made. And I remember when the movie was greenlit, there was a couple articles out about how there was a little bit of a, I don't want to use the word feud, but between Winkler and Sly about this movie. And Sly had let it be known that the only way that Irwin Winkler would greenlight Rocky Balboa was if Sly allowed Winkler's son to be a producer on the film. Now, I started to ask myself, like, okay, well, producers have a lot of power, obviously, and what's the deal here? Because MGM, I thought they were the ones that made the decisions, for the Rocky movies. But it turns out it's a few different things. And that was one of the things that Sly had to relent to get Rocky Balboa made. So I'll go more into that in a little bit. But anyway, so just a little bit of a backstory here. The information that I have today is either directly from Sylvester Stallone, or Sylvester Stallone told this individual that I really trust, and this individual has said as much. I'm getting this information from the Stallone Zone, which I've been a part of since 2001, and Sly is a part of it. It's been proven that it is Sylvester Stallone. So, I mean, you can believe me if you want, but I know for a fact that it is him. He's confirmed with it on his Instagram, and I don't even follow Instagram or Twitter or anything like that, but his Instagram posts get posted on the Stallone Zone. So what you're going to hear from me today is, like I said, I mean, it's for sure from Sylvester Stallone himself, and it's also from this individual that is very close to him that Sly has talked to. And I'll tell you if it's, a direct quote from Sly or not. So this was several months ago. Sly put up a video kind of randomly on Instagram, and basically he was telling this story of this incident during Rocky 3. And I guess I'll remind everyone out there that Sylvester Stallone wrote all the Rocky movies, and he directed almost all of the movies. He's his hands are, he created the character, all right? You all should know this by now. I mean, he created Rocky. He created all the characters, all the story. That's all him 100%, okay? So, Rocky 3, Sylvester Stallone directed. They're on the first day of shooting. Now, this is directly from Sylvester Stallone's Instagram video, okay? He's talking about how it's the first day of shooting. They're shooting a boxing scene. It takes, obviously, time to get everything set up. You got to get the cameras where you want it. You got to make sure the actors are where they are. You got to make sure everything is set. And so he says action, and all of a sudden he starts hearing yelling from the bleachers or in the stadium, in the boxing arena, this, stop, 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 stop. And Slys like, cut, and he looks, and he says in the video, he's like, Winkler, that's what he said. He's like, Winkler comes running down the aisle and is like, we can't do this. You're in too good a shape. Like, Rocky would never be in shape like that. That's not in his character. And Slys like, thinking in his mind, like, did you even read the script? And then Sly basically was like, okay, thanks, like, can we move on now? And then that's basically what Sly said. And so I was just like, what's the deal with this guy? Because I always was just like, in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, Robert Traudoff, Irwin Winkler, or like Rocky MGM, they're like this great group of people that just work in tandem together. And then, like I said, when Rocky Balboa came out, like, Irwin Winkler was like, well, I'm not going ahead with this unless you let my son, be a producer. I was just like, okay, what's going on? So, again, recently on the Stallone Zone, there's been information given. And the first information I want to give everybody is what Winkler owns, or what he has. And what they are blocking rights. He is contracted to blocking rights. And basically what that means is anything Rocky related on film. And this involves the Creed movies too. He has to give the okay. He has that strong of rights, Irwin Winkler. How did he get these rights? Well, I'll tell you. And again, this is from the individual that Stallone has talked to. In 1977, so Rocky came out in 1976, so right when Rocky became a huge hit, Winkler used Stallone's own lawyer against him by acquiring the rights to anything Rocky related. All of these rights that Irwin Winkler have will be transferred to Winkler's children when he dies. Now, you might be wondering, okay, how did Sly screw that up? Or what happened in that situation? The only thing I can think of, and again, this is where you have to make your own judgment, okay? Like, I'm not saying it's right or wrong. What I'm saying is according to Stallone, Irwin Winkler used Sly's own lawyer against him to get these rights. Now, my thoughts on this are, think about how the times were different back then. There were no licensing agreements, all of that stuff that's now, like, when an actor gets a role and becomes popular, like that, it was different back then. You have Sylvester Stallone, who's like an unknown, guy that was living in his car before this movie. He's probably like, I'll do whatever you need me to do, like, I want to, like, this is my baby, like, I want it to get made. And like 1977, this was probably something where, Sly maybe didn't know the Hollywood ropes, or know how contracts and all that stuff are. Again, I don't know the whole story. This is what was told from Sylvester Stallone. So you can take that as what it is. But for sure, what we know for sure is that Irwin Winkler holds blocking rights, which again, he has the go-ahead. But with anything Rocky, which is why Rocky Balboa, Sly was forced to use his son as a producer to get that movie made. And there's other things about Rocky Balboa that I'll bring up. So give me 1 second here, because I I have an order on things I want to say. So I did that. Okay, the Rocky Balboa, Rocky 3. Basically, now I'm going to start quoting Sylvester Stallone. Okay, these are quotes from the Stallone Zone. One of them was a question I had asked, actually. And this has been coming out in the last, few weeks, this whole month, I guess, because Sly is mad, and you'll see when I get to the end of this video on what's going on. It's kind of a big deal. I've seen it in the news. Basically, so Sly has been talking about how he doesn't have the rights to Rocky, and it's always been frustrating to him. And I knew that, by the way. I knew that he didn't have ownership of the the Rocky franchise. I figured he had some rights, but apparently he has very little. MGM, they own the rights to Rocky, okay? So anything made of Rocky, MGM is the owner of it. Now, Amazon recently bought MGM, so it's MGM Amazon. So Amazon now owns the Rocky franchise. MGM Amazon owns the Rocky franchise. Irwin Winkler has final say on whatever happens with Rocky. Now, I asked on the Stallone Zone, I said, I wonder if there's any way that Sly can kind of negotiate some rights back for his assistance with Creed 3. I'm going to make another video that is even more crazy after this video that is related to the Creed franchise. Anyway, so Sly answered. This is a direct quote from Sylvester Stallone. "It is not the studio, which has always been nice." He's talking about MGM. "The studio hates Winkler as well. They tried to take away his rights from him, but he has a stranglehold on all things Rocky forever. The rights will be passed on to his children." All of those words I just said are directly quoted from Sylvester Stallone. Here's another quote. "Winkler and Sons have never done a decent day's work in their lives. Complete parasites." That's basically what Sly is calling them. I mean, he's mad and he does not like them. So here's something else about the Winkler family. Again, now this is secondhand. This is from the individual that has talked to Sylvester Stallone. But not only does Irwin Winkler and Sly not get along, Irwin Winkler's whole family doesn't like Sly. Now, Irwin Winkler's wife, her name is Margot. Apparently, she hates Sly the most. And what's interesting is that the reason that she hates Sly is because her sons have never had a job. All of their money has been from the Rocky series, and she kind of blames Sly for that. It's just weird. Like, what? Like, have your kid... I mean, I guess in an awkward way I could see that, like, you boys never amounted to anything. It's because you had all this money and you didn't feel like you needed to work. I guess I can see it from that perspective, but regardless, it's not Sly's fault that's the case. But in any case, she hates Sly. And the kids were on the set of Rocky Balboa. Okay, now this is a story, again, about how the struggle of Rocky Balboa. David Winkler was the producer. He had one job. He had one job on Rocky Balboa, and that was to get Antonio Tarver, who played Mason Dixon, to sign a contract. He never did. He never did his one job, and that actually caused problems, which I recently had found out about. Apparently, Antonio Tarver was causing Rocky Balboa, after filming, to not get the go-ahead to be put, in theaters because he wanted more money. And because he didn't sign a contract at the beginning, he was able to negotiate more money. I tell you, like Sly, it sounds like his uphill... I could see why he said Rocky Balboa is his greatest achievement, because of all the crap he had to deal with. And I want to add one more thing. So basically, again, this is from this individual that is close to Sly. He said that when they were filming during Rocky Balboa, the producers, which was David Winkler, the entire time that movie was being filmed, he would tell Sly on what Rocky should be doing and what Rocky should be saying. So you have this kid, I don't know, young man, who was given this production job. He's been given a producer position on this movie by his dad. That's how he got the job. It wasn't like skills. So he was told, hey, son, from Irwin Winkler, you're going to be a producer on this movie, and you have a job to do, which he didn't do, which is get the contract signed. But then the whole time they're filming the movie, he's trying to tell Sylvester Stallone how Rocky should act and what Rocky should say. And Sly couldn't do anything about it. Because guess what? If he would have argued with that guy, David Winkler, then they could have shut the movie down. And Sly didn't want that. So Sly had to relent again to this guy. Who do you think knows Rocky better? The actor that wrote the characters and is playing the part for over, at this point, it's 30 years. Or this guy that's never had a job in his life that comes in and got the job because of his dad and is trying to say what Rocky should do or say. It's just ridiculous. Okay, so this brings me to these Instagram posts that Sly had just put up a few days ago. Now, he has taken these down. I took a screenshot of them, so they're on my phone, but I'm recording on my phone, so I wrote down these quotes. Again, this is directly from Sylvester Stallone. Now, David Winkler, who we've just been talking about, apparently has a book coming out. Now, I can only guess that the reason Sylvester Stallone is outwardly saying these things this month are because of what's going on with the Creed franchise. And I will make another video based on that. And it might shock some of you, some of the things that Sly has said. And I'm going to say that for the other video. But anyway, so this book is coming out. David Winkler wrote this book. Sly posts this on Instagram. This is just a few days ago. This is, I quote, by the way. This unbearable, worthless dreck, he's speaking of this book, was written by the painfully untalented David Winkler, who is the son of the remarkably untalented and parasitical producer of Rocky and Creed, even though I barely ever saw him around in all of those years, the one and only Irwin Winkler and wife Margot. I really respected and loved his wonderful partner, Robert Chardoff, who had real talent and soul. Robert Chardoff passed away in 2015. The last movie he produced was Creed. So Sly is saying he always respected and had a good relationship with Robert Chardoff, which I was glad to hear. The Winklers are the worst unhuman beings I've ever met in the movie industry. Sly put that on Instagram. Then, a little while later, he posts again. This is his quote, Sylvester Stallone. Irwin has been controlling Rocky for over 47 years and now Creed. I would really like to have at least a little of what's left of my rights back. I believe that would be a fair gesture from this 93-year-old gentleman. This is a painful subject that eats at my soul, because I wanted to leave something of Rocky for my children. Instead, these rights will be passed on to only Irwin Winkler's children. Sly has since removed both of those Instagram posts. Something's must have gone down, and the only thing I can think of is what I will be talking to you about in the next video. So, yeah, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on this? I mean, Irwin Winkler, did he really do anything wrong? Like, as far as legally goes, I don't think he did. I think Sly inadvertently, or at the time, was like, okay, like, I'm gonna give him these blocking rights, and that's what happened. And now I think he regrets it because he wants to do some other things. And this all does relate to the Creed films. But just to wrap up what we've learned here today is the fact that Sly doesn't have any control of his own creation, or very little control. MGM, Amazon, owns the rights. Irwin Winkler has the blocking rights, which essentially gives him strong control. Apparently, MGM, this is from Sly's mouth, MGM hates Irwin Winkler just as much as Sly. They've tried to take the rights away from him, but legally, apparently, they can't. So it's Sly and MGM against this powerhouse guy that has the rights to this franchise and will be passing it on to his children who have never apparently worked a real day in their life. We haven't heard Irwin Winkler's side of this at all. So there's always two sides to stories. You know, maybe there's some other side. I mean, obviously, Sly has been paid handsomely for his work with the Rocky series. But to not have control of something that you created, I could understand why that would be very painful. And until Irwin Winkler comes out and tells his side of it, we only have Sly's side of it. And I think that's a good point that he made. Like, it only seems like fair, and it would be a nice gesture if Irwin Winkler would, you know, give some of those rights back to Sly. And there's no way he will, I don't think. But again, he's not required to, you know, besides maybe not being a great human being. He hasn't done anything illegal that I'm aware of. So it's more of like a kindness thing, I guess. But it does just put kind of a nasty light on him. So let me know what you think in the comments, or if you have any questions. Stay tuned for my other video related to the Creed series.